Perfect. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being a part of the Staffordshire Business Festival today. We have a fantastic webinar coming up by Josie from Woolcool. So Josie, I will hand over to you.
Thanks very much. And as I suspect, my dog's now started crying. So, so I will share my screen with you. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Okay, so as Lucy said, I am Josie and I am Managing Director of Woolcool. And you might ask, what do Woolcool do? So I'll come to that in a minute, but I just wanted to put it out to the floor before we start, has anyone got any questions around culture, any requests that you want to address throughout this this webinar? By all means, either you can ask me now or you can put it in the chat, or there'll be a bit of a discussion point at the end, which is, you know, if you guys can get involved in that, would be great. So yeah, just let me know if there's anything you want to be addressed, and as I say, I will then hopefully, I'll give you my view on it. I'm not saying it's right, but I'll give you my opinion based on managing kind of quite a large group of people. So so first and foremost, I thought I'd give a bit of an overview to Woolcool, who we are and what we do. We were founded by my mother, so we're a family business in 2009, and we are Staffordshire born and bred. So I am from the area, and we now have my mum, her partner, and my sister in the business, along with, we have 50 plus team members now. So over the last kind of 5 years, 6 years, we've implemented a warehouse facility. And obviously with that, we've gone from having an office-based team to not only an office-based team, but also a warehouse-based team. So one of the key things for us in the very early days was, how do you manage a scenario where you have, you know, maybe it's physical separation, you have an office with a wall and a warehouse. How do you take a business from, you know, 3 or 4 members of staff or members of the team to 50 to 60? How do you manage temporary members of the team? And also, how do you kind of keep that culture going throughout, where you get so many different personalities? As we know, everyone's got their own unique personality. So as I said, we're very much focused around engagement with the team. And this is hopefully the reason why I was asked to do this talk, was because I like to think that we try and promote a good team-focused culture. One of the areas that we really kind of like to focus on is around team education. So I like to think that however someone turns up at Woolcool, if they ever leave, which they're not allowed to, but if they ever choose to leave, they can leave with some form of qualification or furthered of skill set. So whether that's through forklift truck training, whether that's through MVQs, whether that's through university degrees, whichever, we kind of put it out to each individual around what they actually want to be doing. We are now also a B Corp, so we B Corp certified in 2020, so last year. And for those that you don't know, B Corp is a certification that's come over from America, and it's around building a business that is conscious, not just of profit. Profit isn't a dirty word. You know, businesses need to make money in order to progress, in order to grow, in order to invest, in order to employ people, but also not making business decisions at any cost. So if you've got chemicals, don't just go and dump them in the sea and not care about it. If you've got a team, don't just bully them and beat them until they just are kind of broken and on the floor. It's around considering the people that are in the business, and also looking at the impact of the business, the wider impact. I should say what we do. We actually, that's the most important bit. You probably sat there saying, what is this Woolcool? We produce insulated packaging using sheep's wool. Now, typically, we are seen as a sustainable alternative, whatever sustainable means nowadays. But we're a sustainable alternative to polystyrene. So where you might have received meat in the post, or dairy, or cheese, or chocolate, it may have come in some form of insulation. If it says Woolcool on it, it's from us, and that is using 100% pure sheep's wool. And kind of the ethos of our business, as a family business as well, was very much set up around that kind of sustainable conscious almost. And I think, you know, I titled this presentation kind of what's the point of culture, and I think it's worth saying, and I do repeat myself in a little bit, is no business is perfect, and I think we're always learning. So things like you know, our impact on the team, our impact on individuals, on the climate, all those things, it's not, for me, it's not a righteous be all and end all, we do this and it's so great. It's this is what kind of hopefully what you guys get from this webinar is, this is what we found. It may or may not work for your business, but here's some ideas that might help, whether it's team engagement, the reasons why we do it, and kind of the benefits we've seen of doing that. This is the obligatory definition that happens in most presentations nowadays, definition of culture. So I actually have never looked up the definition of culture. So apparently it's the ideas, customs and social behaviour of a particular people or society. Now, I think from that basis, really, business culture doesn't really mean anything. So I put at the top, what's it mean? It doesn't really mean anything as a term. You're talking about a group of people who are working together to a certain set of ideals or goals. And culture can be anything. A business culture doesn't necessarily mean it's good, and a business culture doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. For me, when people say we have, you know, we're really concerned about business culture, it's a little bit empty. It's a little bit of a buzzword. That said, there is a really important element of being mindful about how you conduct yourself in the workplace, in order to ensure that those relationships are strong and that people are thriving. And obviously there's plenty of concerns nowadays around mental health and physical health. So, you know, the workplace for me can be a place where we can enhance people's experience rather than make it a negative. So when they go home, they're dreading going into work, and that's not a good state for anyone to be in, given I think we spend 2/3 of our life at work. Is it overused? You know, this is something for you guys to consider, and hopefully you'll join us at the end with have a bit of a chat about this. But do we think it's an overused term? And for me, it kind of is in some ways, but because I think it can be used as a buzzword. But when it's used properly and it's used in the right context, I think focusing on culture or personality or whatever you want to call it is really important. And as I said, you know, I said I won't repeat myself, and I will probably repeat myself again further down, is no business is perfect, and like a human, it has flaws. And the way I see a business is it's like a person. It's got a personality, and I also see it as human relationships. So people always think I'm crazy for this analogy, but I always see the relationships with our customers and our suppliers and our team as being a bit like a human relationship, where, you know, with your partner, where, you know, you have your first 3 months of everything going okay, and you have the honeymoon phase and you go off and have cups of coffee and tea and everything's great, and then you hit 6 months to 9 months and you start finding more about each other, and then 12 months comes, or 2 years, as a 2-year itch comes, and you start thinking what else is out there, or you start seeing those things that annoy you. And I think some of that is to do with the relationships generally across the whole of society, whether that's business relationships or personal relationships. In my opinion, again, I'm talking from my own experience, so you might disagree completely, is they're very much around kind of personality and values. So, you know, if you think about your friends, you might have some shared value. You might have things you completely disagree on, like Brexit or like, you know, COVID or whatever, but there'll be certain things that you both hold true. So you kind of best mates, you probably have quite a lot of common values with them and common views on things. So that's where seeing business as a personality has always been quite interesting for me, because if you can make your business whatever personality it's going to be, and you can engage your team with people who are share those similar values, is I do find that then you will be able to engage with your team that little bit more. Behaviour within a business apparently usually reflects the founder, or at least the management, unless it's consciously acted on. So I don't know whether he'll ever see this, but Mike Ashley, some of the activities that go on at Sports Directors probably reflects. Maybe we cut that bit out, but I think from my point of view, you know, I don't know what Woolcool says about my personality, but I think if I look at many businesses around that you look at, quite often they will reflect the values of the founder, because that's the person who started up, that's the person who, let's say, gave birth, for want of a better word, to the personality, and started to develop it. So if you go back to the point I was making about business as a human relationship, if you imagine that the person within the business is the only, the founder is the only person within the business, that business will start to be shaped, and they will employ the people who reflect their personality quite often. This isn't always the case, because obviously as businesses grow, that's where the difficulty comes, and that I'll come to that a bit later. And ultimately, business is just a collection of people. This thing of business as an entity, business isn't an entity, it's just a group of people, and it doesn't really exist without them. So my kind of belief around business culture is that it's really important you engage your team and the people around you, and make sure the people around you have shared values. As I was saying, we've talked a little bit about what is a business culture, but why does it matter? And what are the benefits? What are the benefits of it? Businesses are made up of people, as we've just said, and one of my main things around business is it can be a force for good that doesn't just reach your individuals, but can reach outside of the business. So it sounds quite fluffy, but if you've educated someone to improve their skill set, and then they're earning a bit more money, that means their family might be able to, I don't know, buy a different house or buy another car, or it might open other doors for their family, which then maybe gives an opportunity to the children. Or so really that social mobility comes into play here, where and the opportunity of business is, you can, if you think about it, I'm in a very unique position as an individual, because every business leader is really, which is there's 50 to 60 people that I interact with on a maybe more than that on a weekly basis, just within the business. If I can promote something positive to all those people, and all those people promote other positive things onto other people they meet, then obviously that's going to have a knock-on effect for the wider audience. And it's also a way to reach, if you take some of the biggest businesses in the world, they have a platform and a network that they can reach such a diverse audience with messaging, with engagement, with skill set opportunities. So it's a really great driver to be not only a business that is separate from the community, but something that sits in the community. And that all comes from the business seeing itself not just as a profit-making machine, but as something that can make a lot of profit, but also help a few people at the same time. And for me, that's kind of a win-win. Positive business culture promotes positive engagement and as we're saying, wider societal benefits. I have to be honest though, it has taken patience. It takes commitment to the cause, it takes hard work, but it is worth it. That kind of, someone's asking why 1,000 times, someone's asking why you asked me to do that. Actually taking that time to sit with that person and say to them that we're doing this because of this, actually that goes a long way, rather than just telling someone what to do or beating them to do it and they resent it. So I talked about profit, and actually you can be a profitable business and a very successful business, and look after your team. I think historically, it hasn't always, not with every business, there's some really great businesses, but historically I think people and planet come secondary to profit. And I think what we're seeing nowadays is that actually through engagement with the team, through engagement kind of with positive impact, we see many business, it's slightly off topic, but if you take energy saving, for example, if you look to change to you look to save energy, you look to save money. So business win-win, improvement in environment, improvement in profit. So one of the big focuses really around this is, what does a good business culture promote from a business perspective? Because ultimately businesses do need to survive. There is loads of studies out there around reduction in team turnover, and the fact that you get a better engagement from your team in terms of longevity and how long team members stay with you. And with that, obviously there will be some people within that perhaps will fall by the wayside, but generally the ones that you engage with and you invest in are the ones that will repay over time, and particularly with the millennial generation, they are looking for that purpose-driven, and I hate to say it because it's probably just repeating what's said quite a lot, but particularly the generations coming through are very much focused on finding something they want to be part of. So if you can give them that kind of security and that tribe almost, then you will gain their loyalty. And that's coming from a millennial as well. I have to admit, I'm also getting older, so I can't always talk about that on that basis. So team loyalty. So obviously saying team loyalty is there. Improvement in productivity. An engaged member of the team will do the work of 1.5 people in a day. A disengaged member of the team will do the work of 0.5 people in a day. So if you think about it, if you've got a happy team member, they're going to be doing a lot more work than someone who's unhappy. And again, I will find the references for this. This is an event I went to actually a long time ago that gave these figures, but essentially there is plenty of evidence out there that will back me up on this. And we've seen it ourselves, actually, you know, and this is talking about personal experience. We've seen this ourselves as well. Attracts better talent. Actually, a good reputation of a business will attract better talent and keep it. And again, we've seen that at Woolcool, where we've attracted some really, really good team members, and they've stayed, which is happy days for us. You know, you get that growth, you get that talent base, and you've invested in them, and obviously that takes money, that takes time to train them up. So if they leave because they're unhappy, to me, that's a really pointless way to lose a member of staff. If they leave because they've got another opportunity or the business isn't quite right for them, then for me, that makes sense too. You know, it's not always for everyone. Morale and stress levels. There is a major push towards, obviously, around mental health, as I was saying earlier. And I think one of the big things around a good business setup is that actually, if you think about being at work, again, you're at work for the majority of your life. If you're anything like me, you work probably more than you should be, and the happier you are at work, kind of, it's a good chunk of your life, so why not try and enjoy it? And from a business leader point of view, is in my head, I kind of feel like I want those individuals who come to Woolcool to have the opportunity to grow while they're at Woolcool, and if they do decide to move on, that's great, but for me, I want them to be in a position where they are happy and thriving. And don't get me wrong, we don't always get it right. Just going back to what I was saying, there are times where we've maybe made the wrong decision, or we've said the wrong thing, or whatever, but it's having that aim to do that right thing. So I just thought I'd kind of list off a few engagement ideas. The first one is to engage with the team on the vision. So one of the main things that we found through kind of promoting what we do is engaging with the team on vision, on where we're going as a business. Now, some businesses are more guarded than others. So what I'm not saying is go and tell them what turnover you want or profit you want in, next year. You don't have to do that. You might want to do that, but you don't have to do that. This is just really simple. Just saying to your team, recognize this is what we want to do, this is where we're going. It can be as in-depth as you do or don't want. I'm sure you guys all know this anyway, but these are the things we found have worked really well where we are. Always explain why. So I mentioned it earlier, I think we get much better engagement around kind of the culture of an open door, and around explaining to the team why we've asked them to do something. Maybe this comes to the fact that since I was a child, I'd always asked why. So maybe it's something that's driven by my own constant questions of why. But I think from a in kind of staff engagement point of view, explaining why something's happening, explaining why you asked them to do that, will allow people to understand that step towards, you're not just asking them because you're trying to be difficult, you're asking them for this reason. So I gave the example to one of our team members a while ago about, if I asked you to drive the forklift around the estate 4 times, and I just told you to do it, what would you feel? And he was like, oh, well, I'd just be like, what's going on? And he said, and then as well, if I said that we're moving warehouse and we need to know how long it takes to get there, how long it takes to get down there, and we need to know how much battery left. And he was like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. So those kind of things, I know it's very basic, but actually in my experience, in jobs I've worked with in the past, at times I haven't felt like I've had that reasoning. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to explain absolutely everything you're doing at any point, but sometimes on the bigger decisions, it's good to engage people on why you're doing them. Reward scheme. So we have a reward scheme called Woolcool Pounds. They can't be spent outside of Woolcool, just to clarify that so I don't get in trouble. But essentially, Woolcool Pounds are based on if someone does something good, we can't pay the phenomenal amounts of cash out to people all the time, but the idea being is these can be a little bit of a bit like a club card, really. So you get a Woolcool team will get a Woolcool pound if they do something. It might be 5, it might be 10, it might be 20, it might be 100, and they have a board where they have all the lists of things. So it might be 5 gets you a pizza at lunch. I think it's something like £1 is 4 Woolcool pounds or something like that. But so 5 gets you a pizza, maybe 10 would get you pizza at lunch. 20 might get you I don't know, some sweets. 100 might get you a day off. I think we have 3,000 for a Port Vale and Stoke ticket, which I'm going to say Stoke. I think that's I won't upset Kate on the call, but yeah, so that would be a Stoke or Vale season ticket at 3,000 Woolcool pounds. So that means that from a kind of engagement point of view, they get something for their work. If something actually, like, to give you an example on that as well, we over Christmas we do a Christmas voucher scheme, so they can the team can put their Woolcool pounds towards Christmas vouchers. And what that means is we had one team member who basically went to M&S and bought their whole Christmas meal because they had like 1,000 Woolcool pounds. So they ended up with £250 to spend in M&S, and they get like a window where they come in November to, I think it's November to beginning of December. So, it's really nice to think that we can add value on things. And as I say, you can't always pay over the odds. Business doesn't work like that, but these are little ways to say thank you. Thank you goes a long way. Brings me nicely onto that. That's a big thing, is thank you does go a long way. And I do think that by saying thank you, it's such a simple thing, but a lot of people miss it. And I know particularly where we've had team feedback and we've kind of asked for kind of what are the things that motivate you. Praise. Quite a lot of people are motivated by praise. Now, some people want to be shouted at, apparently, but generally people are motivated by praise. And that's it, really. And then branding. One of the things that you probably see, you can't see me, I've got my Woolcool top on, but one of the big things which I get in trouble with our FD about is that I always spend money on a lot of branding, and the idea is to make people feel part of something. And again, it doesn't work for every business, but for us particularly, people will wear the Woolcool t-shirts at work. We've branded up the warehouse so that they feel like we've thought about their workspace. It doesn't necessarily mean adding your values to the walls. This isn't what I'm saying. That works for some businesses, it doesn't for others. But it's around making people feel like the place they're working, it's joined up thinking, there's a bit of care there. And that's one thing we've actually had really great feedback from the team, is they like the branding, which is great. And that means that you get buy-in. It's a bit like supporting a football team, really. They wear the W with pride, most of them. Team days in and out, so we've had a few night outs, not recently unfortunately, but as they keep telling me, but having team days, engaging. I alluded earlier to that disconnect sometimes between an office and a warehouse facility, where you get the us and them mentality, and that's something that I think every business will battle with, and I think that's something every business who has that kind of divide will recognise. You have the us and them mentality, and you have it in sales and ops, you have it in all sorts of ways. But one of the things that we found really useful with the team days was trying to break down those barriers. So where people are saying, oh, they and them and us and them, is kind of beating that out by sitting people down together and making them realise that they are on the same team. Ultimately, the goal of Woolcool is to make our customers really happy. And everyone contributes to customer service. It doesn't matter whether you are in finance, who don't want to talk to customers at all. It doesn't matter if you're in any part of the business. And that's where the team days align that. So it means that when we have the conversations with the team and maybe they say, I feel as though they are doing this, we can say, well, we're all working towards the same goal. And that's been really, really useful. I think it's been a really good learning curve for me and a really good lesson. Personal and team outward recognition. Some people hate it. They hate being pointed out as, you know, you won a prize or whatever. But ultimately, I think everyone secretly likes getting a certificate or something for recognition. So we do some silly awards, we do some like serious awards, and obviously get incentives for that. But again, these are probably very basic things that most businesses are looking to do. But these are the things that we found have really managed to, all these things together kind of boost that engagement within the team. And we've seen positive outcomes because of it, you know, based on feedback from our customers, feedback from our suppliers, and people who come around. Treat people as people. I think that's something that people forget is quite often in workspace, people can become a number and not feel valued. And I think the one thing that I have always tried to do consciously, and I probably don't get it right again all the time, is to have that conversation with those people, have a conversation with people that, you know, you find out about their life, you find out about what they do, you take interest in what they're doing. Obviously, as the business gets bigger, it's harder to walk around 60 people than it is to walk around 6, but it's just making sure that you're keeping on the pulse and any concerns that come up are addressed. And one of the things we've really tried to do and embed in our managers is to, even if someone's got the smallest issue, like the kettle's pink and not blue, is to bring that to the management team, and not to, you know, sweat the small stuff, but to address, you know, what are some of the feedback that's happening, you know, keep those little niggly things in check, because usually they're the ones that grow into the bigger things. It's amazing how it's the bigger things that actually don't cause as many issues as the small things like a kettle not working. We had a scenario around blue and green milk. We had a team member who really likes blue milk and won't have green milk, so we had to then supply blue milk. And it's, you know, some would say it's pandering, but I would say that it's having respect that these people are individuals and recognizing that. And I haven't got on here, but the other thing is investment in skill set. So allowing people the time to further their CV, allowing people the time to grow as an individual, because the time you put into them now will give you so much more in the future. We have a number of really great team members, but one particular team member who is currently going through a university degree, and the amount she's grown and the amount we've got from her doing that in the nicest way is amazing, but the amount she's got out of it too, and we've got a really great partnership and engagement from that individual and others, but she springs to mind. So as I was saying, society is moving towards the identity of the individual more and more, and therefore kind of shouting at people as a group doesn't really work in the same way. So what I found along the way is kind of individuals are easier to manage as a group, where you do have a purpose, you have a goal, you have something people can work towards. And I think this is probably just good business practice. I don't necessarily think it's even under the umbrella of business culture. I think it's probably, you know, it makes common sense, really. You treat someone nicely, they'll do more with you. You treat someone badly, they're probably not. So it's kind of self-evident, really. Empathy, one of the things is understanding why someone's reacting the way they are, and we take a bit of time. It is difficult. I mean, I said at the bottom, it can have negatives to some of these things, but the negatives versus the positives, when, you know, if you spend 10 minutes talking to someone about why they're upset about something, it might be 10 minutes out of your busy day, but it might be 10 minutes that gets you another 6 years out of someone. And I mean that in the nicest way, in the sense that it's that respect and that payback and that human interaction with each other that I believe gets the most out of people. And that brings me on to the next point. Respect goes a long, long way. One of the big things I always say is I don't know everything. I will openly say to the team, I have no ego. I like to think I know some things. I don't know everything, and I'm always wanting to hear from the team. And that upward engagement, where people can suggest kind of all that kind of suggestions around the warehouse, or suggestions around, you know, what kind of computer, things like that, has really helped us to progress forward. Because it's meant that we've got feedback from people on the ground who've allowed us to improve our processes, rather than me thinking that I know everything, I've done this forever, and I know that, you know, if you have the machine this way, it's going to work. It's got to come from the people on the ground. You can be professional and keep your heart. When I started at Woolcool, I was kind of mid-20s, and I wanted to fix everyone. I wanted to, you know, be the therapist that everyone cried on. I wanted to sit in meetings for 2 hours with them and have those chats with them. However, I've started to learn, and particularly now, this is a few years on now, I've started to learn that actually you can have that same professionalism, but also keep and kind of manage those situations, keep professional, manage it in a business sense, but also keep your heart at that. I think sometimes people think you have to be either or. You know, if you show a bit of emotion or care, that means you're no longer a good manager. I actually think the best managers are the ones that have both. And if you think about the best teachers in my view are the ones that are a little bit more, you might be a bit more blunt, but they show a bit of heart as well. And it can have its negatives. You know, business is not a charity, and you will have people who may at times take the mick, and you will have people who you probably can't solve all the issues that are going on. So I think it's important though to address that and manage that in the right way, in a respectful way for that individual. But as I say, all of those things for me, what I've seen from my experience so far, and still got plenty more, I guess, in the future, is that we've definitely seen a really great engagement from the team. So now to throw you to the floor, I just want to do it may fall flat on its face, but I just want to do a bit of an interesting exercise. So, and I might, if you could just write down 3 to 5 of your personal values. So when I say personal values, it might be family, it might be honesty, it might be something completely left field. So you just take 2 minutes to write down a couple of values. Doesn't have to be as many. If you've only got one, just put one down. That's fine too. Maybe just put your thumbs up when you're done. It's going to be silent for a little bit while you do that. So are we making you think a bit deeply on a Tuesday afternoon? I'm sorry. There is reason to my question. Are we happy? I can't see everyone, but if you're happy, maybe just put your thumb up or. Thumbs are up. Excellent. Excellent. I'm not sure if Ryan is there. If he is, I'll give him 30 more seconds. Okay. I've lost count, so yeah, excellent. Okay, so we'll continue because the method in my madness. Is anyone willing to share your values? Can I pick on people? Might be coming it. Kate, do you want to share yours now? You've put your screen on. Oh no, I put you on the spot now.
Yeah, I was guessing on me. So I've got fun, freedom, and learning on mine.
Okay, great, thank you. Karina? Karina, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry about that.
I wasn't sure if it was me.
Thinking you say that. So I've got positivity, teamwork, and honesty.
It's Andy.
Yeah, I've also got honesty, integrity, but always do what you say you're going to do.
I love that. Yeah. I'm making a note. I'm not going to hold you guys to this, don't worry. That goes a long way, doesn't it? That do what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely. 100%.
Urshad, do you want to share yours?
I think I just put sharing and family and freedom.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Great, like that. Okay, so the next exercise then, guys, is to write down what you think. So I don't know, whether you run the business or whether you're in the business or workplace or whatever it is. If you could write down 3 to 5 values of the business you work in, not your values, what you feel they are. So if they were a person, what would be their personality? I'm hoping this goes where I think it's going to go, but I'm not sure it will. We didn't have to ask Lucy. I'm not sure if Lucy's still there. We could have got Lucy to give hers. The truth is, I'm just giving myself a break from talking. Everyone should put your thumb up when you can take a bit of time. We've got a bit of time, so by all means, take a bit of time. I think Urshad, are you happy for us to carry on?
I'm going to say a customer service and the more or less recognitions.
Sorry, say that last one again.
Yeah, customer service, and recognitions and the long-term relationship.
Okay, sure. Okay, great, thank you. Andy?
Yeah, I've got reward, get my teeth in, reward and recognition, but it also reflects the honesty, integrity, and always do what you're going to do.
Do you own the business?
No, I don't. I am an employee.
Are you? Okay, interesting. Well, that will that's very good. It's like I've planted you because that backs up what I'm going to say in a minute.
See you later.
Karina?
Yeah, I'm going to say vision, having the vision, supportive, obviously, in terms of what we do, and obviously teamwork is really important. So that backs up my own ideas as well. So, yeah.
Kate?
You've got 5: caring, communities, commitment, learning, and enthusiasm.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, I should have gone to that screen. So one of the reasons I did that is because, as I said before, quite often we talk about values, and I think people think of values as something that is a bit like, oh, it's values, it's a sticker on the wall or whatever. But I think for me, knowing the values of the business will help you understand the type of person that you either want to employ or whether that's the job you want to take on. So, for example, setting and living by, as I said there, setting and living by values can actually be a really handy tool for decision making, whether it's business or personal, or whether it's kind of making decisions around personnel, whether it's making decisions around products or partners if you're a business leader, or whether it's around personally, so where you're in a business or you're an employee, whether it's around actually you're engaging with that business and you feel like you're in the right place. So do you, and you can say no, I'm kind of, some of this is my own musings and some of this is backed up by kind of study, I guess. But in terms of your own values, like interestingly, Karina, you mentioned that vision and the teamwork, and do you feel like within the workplace, kind of your role reflects your own values?
I think so, absolutely. I think it's all that passion that goes with it, isn't it? And I don't think you can perform the job as well as you would normally be able to unless you've got those, you share those thoughts and visions. So most definitely. In terms of my role here at the Chamber, then it's all about supporting the businesses, but equally it's got to be a team effort, hasn't it, collectively, because we're all supporting the businesses. So I very much agree with that very much so.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to that thing of, as I was saying, about decision making on both parties. So when we do interviews, quite often the first thing I'll say to the person opposite me is, "You're interviewing me too," and they tend to laugh and think I'm just saying something fluffy. But essentially, what I'm saying is, if you don't like me or you don't like the values of this business, in the nicest way, it's probably not right for you. And you know, if one of your values was, you know, for example, individual working, you're never going to work in a business that's teamwork. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, if one of your values is honesty, like, you know, to go to Andy's point, if one of your values is honesty and you're working in a dishonest business, you know, how does that make you feel? You know, so Andy, what do you think about that? Sorry to pick on you, but I'd be interested.
No, that's fine. I mean, the company Inside Six is all about, we deal with employee engagement. So if it wasn't right that my boss made me feel how I do, then there is something seriously wrong with the business that we do. So employee engagement and customer feedback, it very much comes down for me, and, you know, in terms of what he wants from me and what we deliver, I feel part of that team, and his vision reflects the way that we approach our customers as well. So it all knits together, if you like.
Yeah, sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, you know, if I go back to what I was saying about business as a personality, you know, if you're dating someone who, you know, I'm trying to think of something that you wouldn't date someone for. If you're dating someone who believes something completely different to you, and you came to loggerheads about it, you know, they were honest and you were dishonest, or whatever it is. I mean, honesty and dishonesty probably isn't necessarily a value in that sense, as you wouldn't be dating someone if they were dishonest, would you? Let's be honest. But from a point of view of kind of those shared values, let's call it, is quite often, you know, we've seen it, and I have to be completely honest, there have been people within Woolcool that haven't got the culture, you know, the kind of more open, I guess we say we're, I mean, professional and fun. I mean, that's the kind of, you know, we have a bit of a fun edge to us, but we were professional with it and we work hard. And I think some people will take that fun and go one way, and some people don't like the fact that we might have a laugh about something because they, you know, very much, you know, professionalism, they don't bring their personality necessarily to work in the same way that other people might do. So I think that kind of brings on nicely to the, is it personal versus business, or personal and business? Is, I don't know about you guys, but something I've noticed in COVID is people that I have never seen show their personality in a personal way, I've seen it since Zoom and COVID, where they're on a call, they're in their house and their dog jumps on their knee, and you suddenly see a personality you haven't seen before in that person. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, whether it's just me.
No, I think that's very, very true. I mean, you know, you're sort of getting a glimmer, aren't you, of another side of them. And I know, you know, most people are working from their home offices and what have you, but it's just a different, those little things that happen. You wouldn't normally see that, would you? So you are seeing a bit more of that personality, I think. You know, it's been quite interesting, I think, to see that. And they're a little bit more relaxed, I think, as well, or they can be, can't they, if they're home working. So yeah, I think you're right, Josie, absolutely. I think you do see those personalities coming out.
And I think that leads on to the thing around values, that where you've got a business that maybe doesn't have the same, let's say, I'm not saying like a family business, I'm saying like same values around, I don't know, you know, family. Urshad mentioned family. Now, you know, if Urshad is very much, you know, family, and Urshad can tell me if you disagree with this, is, you know, if you're very much around family and sharing community, actually, if you were in a business that then said to you, no, you can't see your family because you've got to work late, you're going to be much better suited, and particularly around COVID, to the businesses that go, oh, actually, we will do some Zoom home working with you, or we will do this flexible type of working. Some businesses it doesn't work for, but you know, I kind of feel as though that that barrier between, that's why I kind of wanted your views on it, really, is that personal versus business, and personal and businesses. Are we now at a stage where actually those values are becoming more important in a business than they were previously, because you've got that breakdown almost? I don't know if you guys have any more thoughts on that one. We can move on to the next question. I think Kate's made the comment, actually. What do you say, Kate? You've seen it. Is she still there? I think she might have gone. Yeah, so anyway, so that's interesting. And it's interesting you say that you've seen that, Karina. Businesses will often reflect the personality of the leader and founder. Do you agree with this based on your experience? Andy?
Yeah, I think I do agree with that in general. Well, just as Katie's typed that, in general, yeah. I think that in the present climate, things have changed over the last 18 months, and I think employees are valued more, I think, now than previously. Or that's my opinion of that. In terms of where businesses have had to have people working from home, there has got to be a link with engagement at home as well. So whilst you've got more people perhaps working at home, it is difficult to keep that teamwork together, even if you're using Zoom or that sort of format, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Trying to keep that team spirit, if you know what I mean. If you've got, a workforce, obviously in your situation it's maybe slightly different from what you're saying, but I think if you've got a workforce where you've got a lot of senior managers all then working from home, it's hard to keep that spirit going.
I completely agree. I think Zoom is great for many things, but I think the thing it perhaps, and anyone could disagree with this if you want, I think the thing it doesn't do too well is that the human element, the element where like you say, that engagement where you're talking to senior managers on a call and you don't quite have that spark, you don't have that spark there. And Kate makes a really good point actually in the chat, is actually we're talking about business here, but actually business is multi-dimensional in the sense that we have small, medium, large, all different sizes, mini, big, whatever. And the biggest organizations, as Kate said, actually, it's a really good point, Kate, they're different when they get sold. So actually, once you change that, is it more about the managers you have? And then that comes down to the values of the company. So if your values and your culture is right when it gets sold, for example, is that then a way to, prove that actually having a good culture and working values and employing people on values, it can be a benefit, because if you're looking to sell your business, for example, is actually if you've got a good strong workforce, that has a major value as well. So yeah, sorry, moving on Christmas questions. Those satisfied in their jobs feel as though their values are met, even more evident after COVID. More engagement from those who have similar values. Do you agree? So based on your experience, Andy, actually, to pick on you again, and actually Karina, do you feel that because those values match with your own personal, that does get more out of you, like as a person? Like, obviously you can be completely honest on this, hopefully no one sees this, that if you say no, but do you feel that's the case?
Yeah, I would agree most definitely, and I think also from my own clients' point of view as well. I think we've heard people say that they've generally got more people out of more work out of their employees. During the last 18 months, they have become more close to them. They understand the business. I just think it has changed the landscape, hasn't it, completely? Everyone has had to work differently. Whether it's small changes or large changes, but I think certainly from my own experience with clients as well, I've seen that it has really made a difference. And I think, yeah, most definitely, those individuals that have not felt quite so comfortable, I think they've looked for alternative, as you said, Josie. Doesn't always fit, does it? But I think it's come out loud and clear. Yeah, I would agree definitely with that.
I think life stage has a major, a major thing, and that people evolve, don't they? I don't think people always keep. I think people keep same values, but I think obviously things evolve. You might have a partner, you might not. You might have a dog, you might have a baby, you might have a rabbit. You have life stages. They're not the life stages, only life stages, obviously. But there's scenarios, isn't there, where things change and people change as well. And I think
absolutely.
And that's what I was going back to before, is how we conduct ourselves at Woolcool. We like to think that we're a fair and kind of honest and straightforward business, but there will be some people who the mentality or the culture at one point fit. Like when we were a startup, what was quite interesting when we were a startup is we actually had one team member who actually left. There was 5 of us, and when we got to 10, she came to me and basically said, I want to work in a startup again. And she was very honest. She was like, I don't enjoy the structure. I don't enjoy putting stuff in place. I don't enjoy that. I want to, sorry, my dog's there. I don't enjoy that kind of thing. So it's quite interesting to see that as you grow. And actually, Urshad, you made a really good point there, is actually after COVID, human life is the highest priority. Well, that's true, isn't it? Actually, people are they're talking, maybe those values, those personal values have actually become more to the floor because they are thinking about their lifestyle, their life, their actual life in many cases. It'd be interesting. Andy, do you want to add? You don't have to, but is there anything you'd want to add to that?
No, I think I wouldn't work for a business if it didn't reflect my values to some degree. That makes sense. Things like honesty, integrity, that sort of thing, and also recognition and reward is a big one for me. So, but that's just the way I tick. I'm a salesman. That's how I roll.
This is it, isn't it? And I think in my opinion, and I'm not saying again, this is my opinion and my experience so far, is that the businesses that choose the individuals and make decisions against their values, for me, from what I've experienced in other businesses around me that I know conduct themselves in similar ways, I've seen the better retention of the team. I've seen a greater sustainability. And when I say sustainability, I don't mean green credentials. I mean kind of future sustainability, because you don't have a constant churn of staff. You've got kind of a happier team. Your customer engagement is better. And kind of the beginning of this presentation was kind of, what's the point of culture? It become a bit of an empty word. It's people go, the business values or culture or whatever. And I think it's become a bit like sustainability as a word, where it becomes a bit annoying. Everyone's using it and no one really knows why. And what I was trying to kind of get at today, hopefully what you've seen, is actually strip away some of that and go, where have we seen the benefit to doing things in the way we do? And our culture won't fit in every business. And as I put, no business is perfect. And I think if you try and be something you're not as a business, that's when you start falling by the wayside and attracting the wrong people. If you want to be I'm not saying to do this, but if you want to be a business that beats your staff, that's the business you're going to be. But don't try and be something you're not. And obviously, I obviously don't judge by other standards as well. So what works for Woolcool won't work for everyone. But what I hope today, I've kind of given my insight into why I feel that actually there is a point to having a good culture, and it's not just about the business, and it's not just about profitability and all those things. There's a wider, Urshad actually said it really nice, there's a human life element here of improving people's lives, and that's quite close to my heart personally. So that brings us nicely to it's time to business review what they do right and wrong to humans, customers, as well the environment. Completely agree with that. Yeah, that's completely my sentiment, is actually, that thing where the businesses are taking into account people as people, and that's really important. So we're coming to the end. I think we've got 4 minutes, or we can finish when we finish really, but do you guys have any questions, any feedback, any thoughts, any abuse, anything you want to heckle at me? Feel free, throw that tomato.
Really interesting, actually, Josie. Really enjoyed that very much so. Nothing that I wasn't really expecting in knowing Woolcool, to be fair, but it's really nice just to get some of the insight into the things that you have been doing with the staff, particularly the Woolcool pounds. I'm quite interested in that. As you know, I'm all into incentives and rewards and things like that, as Andy has already alluded to. But what kind of things have you got on that list for employees to earn their Woolcool pounds? Just a couple of examples would be good.
So we've got one of the things we had for a while was 10,000 Woolcool pounds would get you a smoking shelter, because they didn't want to encourage people smoking outside. So that was one thing, but no one clubbed together. They didn't want to do that. They were like, no, we'll all have pizza instead. So yeah, you've got, say, a certain amount will go towards say pizza. So we've got these little cards. So they have like 5, 10, 1, 5, 10, 20, 50 and 100. And then obviously we give them out, you know, someone, you know, for example, the other day, our marketing person did something out, you know, completely out of the blue for me and sorted something out for me. So I just kind of gave her 25 Woolcool pounds, and then she can then put that towards, so she can either save it for Christmas, you know, the Christmas voucher scheme, or, you know, I mentioned kind of Stoke Vale tickets, or things like iPads. So we had one individual who actually ended up achieving an iPad. We got, like, I think it was like 600 Woolcool pounds, something like that. So
fantastic. Sounds good. It sounds as it's really, you know, been successful. You know, what you've.
One of the challenges with it, though, and you know, this is a very open forum, is, you know, it's keeping it going. And I don't. I think one of the challenges with anything, and we've done it for a long time now, so we've kind of got into a routine. But we did have a point where people give them out willy-nilly, because we let everyone give them out to everyone at one point, and it was just getting stupid. So we're like, right, we just need to rein it in a little bit. And we learned a lot of lessons. But I think the main thing around some of the incentives, it's how you keep it fresh and going, so that people feel like they're always getting that value out of it. You know, you guys are nodding your head. I assume that you agree with that. Because I think that's the difficulty, is people are kind of wanting, I guess if you keep giving them out, that becomes normal. So where do you go from that benchmark?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, indeed. It's making sure it's that over and above, isn't it? I guess, really, something that you feel is, you know, well deserved at those points. But as you said, it can get out of hand, and you're dishing them out all the time, whereas it's not meant for that, is it? So, but it sounds good. You know, explore it a little bit further.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those. And that's why I wanted to have that discussion at the end, really, is because I'm interested to see other people's take on things and what other people do. And, you know, as I say, there's plenty of things I've learned along the way from other businesses, which I've implemented or stolen from them. And hopefully some people can learn from some of the stuff we do, and vice versa, you know.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Josie. It's been great. Thank you.
No worries. Has anyone else got any more questions? You don't have to.
No, all good, thanks.
No? Okay. Well, thanks very much, guys. I've really enjoyed that, and actually, it actually became quite a good discussion at the end. I wasn't sure how the discussion bit at the end in terms of questions going to pan out, but thanks for getting involved and not leaving me hanging when I ask the question, because that's always the awkward bit, isn't it? When you ask a question, everyone goes, But yeah, does anyone else want to add anything, or shall we claim back a minute, or have I gone over? Oh no, exactly. That never happens. Can't stop that sharing. So cool. Thanks, guys. Well, have a great day. Thanks, Lucy, for hosting. And yeah, if you need anything, you know where I am.
Cool. See what I did there.
It's a fantastic. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Cheers.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.